The Tale of Boukhriss, the terrifying legend of the night. In the depths of remote villages where silence cloaks everything, and the only sound at night is the distant barking of dogs, a name is whispered in fear: Boukhriss. He is neither human nor animal, but a strange entity whose origin and true form are unknown. The village elders tell stories on cold nights about how Boukhriss appears suddenly when darkness blankets the village, particularly in abandoned places or at the edges of forests. His height is unnaturally tall, towering over humans, and his features are hidden beneath torn, black skin that clings to his body. But what terrifies most is his voice, a hoarse sound, a mix between a human scream and an animal's groan, heard from afar, drawing closer, though he leaves no trace. It's said his first appearance was hundreds of years ago, when a young child disappeared from the village without a trace. That very night, an old woman claimed to have seen a long shadow moving between the trees, with eyes glowing like embers. From that day on, everyone feared speaking his name, and his presence became linked to the disappearance of children, or even adults who dared to venture out at night. What's strange about the story of Boukhriss isn't just his form or his sudden appearances, but the eerie feeling that precedes his arrival. Suddenly, the wind stops moving, and the sounds of nature fade. The dogs that were barking flee and hide, as if they sense something approaching. In that moment, if you are near the forest or an abandoned place, you may hear heavy footsteps slowly drawing closer, and then stopping suddenly. They say he watches from afar, waiting for the right moment to strike. A farmer who lived near the forest once recounted a cursed night he would never forget. He was walking along the dark road back to his home when everything around him grew unnaturally quiet. Suddenly, he felt a heavy presence following him. The footsteps grew closer and faster, but when he looked around, he saw nothing. The sounds around him turned to whispers as though they were calling to him. When he looked behind him, he felt something enormous approaching, its eyes burning through the darkness. But there was nothing there, only the chill that sank into his bones. Boukhriss had been just steps away, yet he vanished in an instant. It is also said that Boukhriss doesn't approach just anyone. He targets those he feels. Perhaps it's the kindness in your heart, or the thoughts hidden in your mind that draw his attention. People who wander aimlessly in the darkness, or those who carry secrets buried deep within their past, are the most likely to see him. The mystery surrounding him remains unsolved. Is he a lost soul, or an ancient demon returning for revenge? No one knows for sure. But the truth is, those who disappeared never returned, and some who did were never the same. Their eyes were hollow, their bodies pale, as though they had endured something unbearable. Do not assume that staying in your home at night makes you completely safe. There are stories of neighbors vanishing from their rooms without leaving a trace. Over time, people discovered that you don't need to leave your home to fall prey to him. Boukhriss might come to your window or your door, slipping toward you in a moment of weakness, creeping closer and closer until his darkness engulfs you, and you lose all sense of yourself. If you are someone who loves adventure and believe you are brave enough to approach the forest at night, remember this warning. Do not respond to a voice calling your name, and do not turn around if you hear footsteps behind you. It might be his steps, the steps of Boukhriss, silently approaching you. If you don't feel him now, when will you? He might be behind you, lurking in the shadows you cannot see, or waiting for the moment when time closes its doors around you. And you might be his next victim. No matter what happens, do not speak his name. As the villagers say, monsters can hear what is spoken about them.